Representative Giffords' career on Capitol Hill. We're joined by Fox News political analyst Angela McGlowan. Also with us, Democratic strategist Christopher Hahn, a former aide to New York Senator Chuck Schumer. It sounds, Angela, as though she was one of those who was sort of beloved by both sides, Republicans and Democrats.
You know, John, public service is a sacrifice, and Congresswoman Giffords represents true leadership. And when you have Governor Jan Brewer and former Speaker of the House, now Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi, singing your praises, John, that's a great thing. And as you stated earlier, she is for immigration reform, but she's against amnesty. So a very unique Congresswoman who could work with both sides of the aisle. And
I need to correct myself again because I used the past tense. And to our amazement, despite this injury, doctors believe that they will be able to save her life despite the bullet that went through her brain. She is recovering right now at a hospital in Arizona. Angela, when you hear the way she is held in such high regard by both parties, really, I guess the question that I asked earlier of a couple of our guests comes to mind again, which is, you know, can this be in some way a turning point, a time when both parties say, hey, we've been, you know, arguing and screaming at each other sometimes about the wrong things, and maybe it's time to just step back and get together and move this country forward?
This great lady is a fighter, John, and I'm sure she's inspiring many, and I'm hopeful now that members of Congress can go to the Hill and actually promote positive change. I mean, this lady has worked tirelessly on policies to help create not only a better America, but a more prosperous America. So I hope that congressional members will lead by her example.
Christopher Hahn, what are your thoughts as we discuss this terrible event that has happened to her and to so many others?
Well, of course, we're praying for her speedy recovery and get her back to work for the people of Arizona and the people of this great nation. And, you know, she is the perfect example of how in this country we are not miles apart. I know Angela and I are friends. We come on Fox together and we talk about the issues and we argue about things. But at the end of the day, we all believe in the same thing. We want to see a better, more prosperous America that's good for everyone. We may disagree about how we're going to get there, but that is our goal. We believe in the public discourse of people being able to come together and disagree about things, but not necessarily hate each other because of it. We want to work together and get things done. She's a true moderate. There aren't that many moderate Democrats left in Congress. She's a woman who believed in tighter border security. She may not have supported the Arizona immigration law, but she was instrumental in getting President Obama to put 1,200 troops on the Arizona border and secured $600 million for border security in her state, even as she didn't support Governor Brewer and the Senate's in Arizona's immigration law, because she believed that we needed immigration reform and tighter border security, but she wasn't exactly in lockstep with the other side of the aisle on how it should happen, as are so many cases here when we talk about the political discourse in this country. We all have different ways of wanting to do it, but we all want to see the same thing happen at the end of the day.
And
if she doesn't make a speedy recovery like we want, she just proposed a law that would actually have congressional members take a 5% pay cut. So I'm hopeful that the Blue Dog Democrats will take on that plight for her.
Right. That was an interesting bit of legislation, and she talked about that with our Bill Hemmer. Bill, I should mention, is coming up in just about 45 minutes, and I'm sure he'll get into this himself. But yes, a 5% pay cut, she suggested, for members of Congress hasn't been done in something like 70 years or more.
Since 1933.
Right. And yes, you could say it's symbolic, but symbolism is important at a time like this, isn't it, Mark? I'm sorry, Christopher.
I think that's correct. I think that most Americans didn't see their wages go up in the last year or two, three, and most feel that the Congress hasn't done enough to secure this economy. So if they're going to take a symbolic pay cut, I think that's something that should be done, and they should do it in her honor. But I expect her to be back in Congress working for 5% less before too long, from what I've been hearing from the reports today so far.
And Chris, you know what? You and I are miles apart on certain things, but I think today, my brother, you and I both agree, and we're both praying for her family.
And what about,
absolutely.
You know, I mean, it has been pointed out that Arizona is an open carry state. If you want to, you can take a gun, and it's my understanding a concealed weapon to an event like this. You know that there are going to be all kinds of calls to change that. Now, ultimately, that's going to be up to the people of Arizona. But Christopher, let's get your take on that. Is it the politics of that are just going to be pretty incredible in the days and weeks to come, don't you think?
I don't want to get into a debate on gun control today, but I do think that this man who had this gun should not have had it. And if there's something we could do to prevent people like this from having guns, it should be done. Because people like this who are going to take a gun and try to silence an elected member of the House of Representatives, silence the people's representative by his bullet, that person should not have a gun, and people like him should not have a gun. And I don't think anyone would disagree with that.
And clearly this man has some mental issues, clearly, but the Congresswoman even stated before debate, she read the First Amendment, we in America have a right to state our grievances, but that's at the ballot box or being lobbyists on Capitol Hill,
right,
not with a gun. So there will be a big gun debate, but the Congresswoman, as Peter Doocy said earlier, is for the Second Amendment. So guns don't kill people, people kill people. But Chris, you are right. I mean, if you have some type of mental issue, mental problem, you shouldn't have access to a fire weapon.
And worth pointing out that the Congresswoman is a gun owner herself.
Yes.
Thanks very much for being with us. Angela McGlowan and Christopher Hahn. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us. Appreciate it.